Hello, my name is Raquel Sotelo, and this is my genogram of my family of 3 generations. As you can see, it begins with my great-grandparents, and the second level is my grandparents, and the third level is my parents. My You can find my mom's side on the left side and my dad's family on the right side, and you'll also find a legend of the genogram so that it is clear of what the symbols mean and what the genogram is. So in this video I will be discussing about my thoughts and feelings about creating this genogram, and also discussing about the relationship dynamics and patterns found in my family and how some were reoccurring and some were multi-generational, and which ones were gender specific. Also, I'll be discussing the health history of my family, and also first, my thoughts and feelings about gathering this information for this genogram was, my thoughts were surprised because I didn't realize how much your family influences your personality and the person you are today. You know, as you become an adult, and you know how much family plays when you're growing up. So the relationships between my parents had the most influence on the family dynamic, because the relationship between the parents had the most influence, because in each generation the connection of the parents positively affected the relationships the children had with each other and others outside the family. So what I'm trying to say is the positive relationships my parents had with each other, and that my grandparents had with each other, and my great grandparents had with each other, were, you know, positively affected their children, because you know the children have positive interactions with other people and with other family members because of, you know, the role models they had growing up. You know, there was never any hostility. You know, there was good communication and, you know, just positivity in the relationships. So that was definitely multi-generational that I saw. Another pattern that I saw in my family was support and love. This pattern was multi-generational. I saw a lot of the support that my family has provided for like their children and for each other, and you know, the parents' relationship. And even though the love wasn't physically shown, it was still provided in its own way. So that was a pattern that I seen in my family, or that is in a part of my family. Another multi-generational pattern just demonstrated in my family was the secure attachment style. Across the generations, the children had secure attachment styles to their parents. And the reason why I am saying that is because the adults, when the children grew into adults, they had trusting and long-term relationships, such as my great grandparents were married for their entire lives together, never divorced. There was no divorce between my grandparents, and then there's my parents are still married today. So that's the reason why I say that it's the secure attachment style was multi-generational, or is multi-generational, because they've been together for long term, and they've definitely shown that they trust each other and that they support each other and they love each other, which affects the kids, which affects the children. These patterns can also explain my family's independence. My family encourages self-exploration and freedom instead of control and unity. So whenever the children feel secure, they tend to be more independent, and that I've seen that in across the generations in my genogram. My grandparents were provided their children with a secure attachment, and then my parents have made me and my siblings feel safe and secure. So for communication patterns in my family, I believe the communication patterns between my grandparents and my parents were the communication patterns between my grandparents and my parents, I would say, is a protective family communication pattern, which means that the conversation is low in orientation and high in conformity. So the children are expected to be obedient to the parents, and there's not really open communication as much as a pluralistic family, which is high in conversation orientation and low in conformity. There's a lot of open discussion that is encouraged for all family members, and parents do not strive to control their children's or each other's behaviors or decisions. Instead, they value the life lessons that a family member can learn by spending time with non-family members or engaging in self-exploration. So I believe that the pluralistic is gender specific to my generation, which is from my parents. But my parents growing up, I believe they grew up in a protective family communication. They had a communication pattern of a protective family, which is what I described as, the parents simply responding with "because I said so," and there wasn't really open discussion about, decisions. And the ultimate decisions was made by the parents. And I know my mom had mentioned that her parents were pretty strict and traditional. And in my generation, my parents are more open to communicating and, you know, us exploring ourselves and, being our own person, making our own decisions, and not them making the decisions for us. So going on to the health of my family, um, there has not been any known mental health needs in my family. I know with my great grandparents on my mom's side, cancer and high blood pressure and hypertension are found on my mom's side. On my dad's side, it's also cancer and diabetes. So those are some of the health history of my family.